Well, I think it's important for people to understand that Washington has no knowledge of Georgia and no care about Georgia. Georgia is a piece on a chessboard, and this is a game between the United States and Russia. In fact, one of our leading strategists, Zbigniew Brzezinski, who was a famous geopolitician, in the 1990s wrote a book called The Grand Chessboard, where he basically portrayed the world as a game of the great powers. My strong advice is, if you want to play a game, do it on a real chessboard, not in real life. When I was young, we used to play the game of Risk, so-called. The goal was to get your piece on every part of the world. But unfortunately, American strategists play games with other countries, and they behave as if it's a game, but they leave behind a lot of turmoil and even tragedy. Let me give you an example. The whole question of Georgia joining NATO has nothing to do with Georgia. It has everything to do with the U.S. view of Russia. The idea is not about Georgian protection. The idea that goes back 30 years is to surround Russia in the Black Sea region. And this idea, by the way, goes back 170 years, because this was an idea of the British Empire, who are the most cynical of all people in the world, in my experience. So if the Americans are bad, the British are even worse, because they were the world empire for even longer. And in the 1850s, their idea, led by Lloyd Palmerston, and he got his next door neighbor, Napoleon III, to join him, was to push Russia out of the Black Sea. Now remember, Russia's fleet, ever since Catherine the Great, was in Sevastopol. It was founded in 1783. But Lord Palmerston thought that Britain, as being the master of the Navy, could defeat the fleet and throw Russia out of the Black Sea, and thereby make Russia a third-rate country. Now, why did Britain want to do that? Well, it wanted to rule the world. And in particular, it had a fear that Russia would compete with Britain even in Central Asia and in India. It was a kind of mad idea. But when you're trying to rule the world, each piece of the puzzle or each place on the chessboard looks strategic to you. And so Lord Palmerston, who could care less about the Caucasus, actually wanted to go on and fight the Crimean War in the Caucasus, no less. So this goes back 170 years to the 1850s. And the United States is the student of Britain. And the U.S., with Zbigniew Brzezinski's policy, was to follow the Palmerston model and surround Russia and make Russia a third-rate country. And he actually describes this in his book, The Global Chessboard. He even says in a whole long chapter, Russia can't resist. It's too weak to resist this. So it was a kind of gamble also. We can push NATO and there's nothing Russia can do.